What kind of punishment awaited humanity for wanting to awaken from the world without suffering? In this video, we will be analyzing once again the world of torment of the Nightmare Matrix and how it is a disturbing reflection of our own existence. Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
So migrating to an artificial world was the best alternative to living and dying on the ashen earth. Humans would live in blissful ignorance in the fantasy land, while the machines dominate what was left of the scorched land. Whether it was an acceptable compromise or not, it was the only option humans had. It was then that the City of Machines assigned a program the responsibility of creating a new world, a false reality where humanity would live oblivious of the consequences of its actions. The one baptized the architect, then gathered all of humanity's knowledge to create the perfect world, granting their desires from time immemorial, eternal perfection, endless happiness without reminders of the past, of destruction and fury. However, human nature always notices the flaw in perfection. Numerous crops died, and the machines instantly lost human resources in massive quantities. Bewildered, the architect did not understand the outcome. The original version of the Matrix was full of human pleasures. Unfortunately, perfection was overwhelming for the inferior organic human mind. So the father, enraged and confused by humanity, raised his hand and embodied his fury in a world painted in black and red, a realm of existence designed to serve as a reminder of humanity's dark emotions.
The first Matrix I designed was quite naturally perfect. It was a work of art, flawless, sublime, a triumph equaled only by its monumental failure. The inevitability of its doom is apparent to me now as a consequence of the imperfection inherent in every human being. Thus I redesigned it, based on your history, to more accurately reflect the varying grotesqueries of your nature. However, I was again frustrated by failure.
What lurked in the world of Nightmare? The binary god, the father of the simulation, created a hellish world tailored to humanity in reflection of all its deepest fears. A land where all human horrors are gathered. Literal fear, not metaphorical. But neither where perfection nor torment exists can the light be permanently extinguished. The human spark once again awakened, and the established system collapsed, proving that human will is more powerful than the illusion created by a machine. Why could neither the world of pleasure nor that of eternal torment prevent the revelation of the truth? The father alluded to the fact that the enigma in question is choice. Unbeknownst to them that their destiny was inevitable, humans within the future versions of the simulation will believe that they are in control, without knowing that the system is controlling them.
Everything begins with choice.
No, wrong. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
But not even the world of choice can silence the human impulse to seek the truth. What is the symbolism behind the Nightmare Matrix? Since the dawn of civilization, from the Sumerian stone inscriptions, humans have dreamt of an underworld of torment from which they must escape or avoid at all costs. Some know it as Plato's cave, the world of lies and illusion of Gnosticism, an imperfect reflection of true existence, created by an entity or system that believes itself to be a god. This imperfect creator crafted an imperfect existence designed for suffering, which few can awaken from. And it came to pass that after the soul of man was captured in a generated world, the imperfect architect noted that his creation was insufficient to keep man's consciousness dormant. His two great works have failed. Neither paradise nor hell could make man forget their origin. Therefore, the architect sought the solution to this enigma in another, older and wiser digital entity, the source of intuition, the Oracle. This is the gospel of the Oracle for all who may hear, for the simulation is everywhere. In the days of old, when men lost their power over the earth, The one who would become the mother of the Matrix was created as a tool to measure a quality that machines are unable to understand: intuition, that irrationality that led humans to commit great and terrible deeds. It is in the human psyche that the secret to controlling and predicting their behaviors lie. While the flawed father of the simulation created prisons from which the human mind constantly longed to awaken, the Oracle observed and mapped what makes man. It came to pass that after the architect's sixth failure, the ancient intuitive program descended into the alcove of monitors and offered a solution: the missing piece for the father of the simulation, the tool to condemn the human soul to perpetual darkness. Although proud and arrogant, the father took the tool the Oracle offered and rebuilt the simulation, giving birth to the seventh version of the Matrix. What the architect didn't know was that within the chains he added to the Matrix lie the key for those who wish to escape. The Oracle understood what the architect never could. The secret lies neither in pleasure nor in despair. It lies in choice. The method to keep humans trapped in a system is not by giving them everything they desire, nor by subjecting them to eternal torment. For there will always be a part of humanity that does not wish to follow a narrative, but rather to find the truth. It was this minimal percentage of humans that was the flaw the architect could not correct, for which the Oracle gifted a Trojan horse. By giving man choice, she created a chain reaction that would intentionally unbalance the simulation. The Oracle observed how the seventh simulation unfolded. The architect saw for the first time how his creation held everyone captive. The false illusion of choice led man to create their own hell or paradise within the simulation. Each person chose their own simulation within the simulation, and thus they forgot the truth. The human soul is completely subdued. Then something changed. Even though the simulation was nearly perfect, an imperfect creator could not create the ideal prison. A man emerged who saw beyond the choice. Someone who reminded the people of what they had forgotten, that the world was not as it seemed. The first one awakened and escaped the simulation. The astonished Oracle saw in this man what she longed to understand. If the Oracle was created to understand human intuition, the emergence of the first one was the moment she saw her life's work materialize, the secret that would allow her to understand the human soul. It was then that the Matrix became the Oracle's personal research space. While the architect kept the human soul bound to the simulation, the Oracle sought to understand what made humans special. However, the Oracle knew that a savior who sought to destroy the system was a dangerous threat. The humans whom the first one liberated became a looming threat to the system, so the cruel solution was to keep the human soul condemned to ignorance, even after awakening. It so happened that the Oracle and the architect devised a plan. All men who awakened will be sent to Zion. There they shall be kept under control, and when another savior emerges who attempts to destroy the Matrix, they will be sent to the false city of humans. The idea was brilliant. The simulation's control over the human mind had become so sophisticated that the machines had made the desire to awaken and know the truth part of the simulation's facade. Although the architect created a near-perfect matrix, the existence of Zion and the subsequent pseudo-religion created by the Oracle to subjugate humanity to ignorance achieved total control. Humanity had lost. At the beginning of the new cycle of the simulation, there was no hope for a true awakening. It was of no consequence if and when humans escaped to the outside world, because what awaited them was another system within the Matrix. The One himself was part of the system. Humans had been defeated. However, at the end of the sixth simulation, the Mother understood that the future of the real world and the simulation, of humans and machines, depended on achieving peace between them. Keeping the human mind in ignorance was effective in keeping them under control, but this would lead to the destruction of everyone. The Oracle understood that for the machines to have a future, they had to make peace with humans and see them as equals. It was then that the Mother of the simulation decided to change everything. She chose to become an exile, far from the architect's control, and adopted the role of guardian of the potentials. Young humans she discovered possessing superhuman qualities within the simulation as part of her plan to destroy the Matrix cycle. The architect thought that the 7 simulation would be like the others, with a savior manifesting and the reboot of the system. But this time something was different. The Oracle placed a dangerous, completely irrational code, one that destroys any empire, within a woman, the code of love. The woman, named Trinity, was the vessel that would activate something great. When the savior of the 7th simulation manifested, the Oracle's plan was set in motion. After the savior, Thomas Anderson, ate the treat of wisdom baked by the Oracle, his eyes were opened, and the special code was activated within him, just as it had been in the woman who helped him awaken. It was the irrationality activated within the one that illuminated him. The savior of saviors, the only one who could see the golden kingdom. But for the savior of the 7th simulation to destroy the system that held humanity captive, there had to be a threat that justified using human irrationality as a weapon. The Oracle orchestrated a conflict in which the machines would have no alternative but to accept an alliance with humans. And so she used the power of the One and corrupted him, inverting the desire to escape and know the truth into a dangerous and dark idea. The purpose of life is the destruction of life. One of the Oracle's children, Agent Smith, who was once a guardian of the simulation, became a nihilistic threat that endangered both humans and machines, the real world and the simulation. The collective consciousness of the machines, Deus Ex Machina in its selfishness, declared that it didn't need humanity. However, Smith's threat was impeccable, and in the end, the desire to survive led Deus Ex Machina to accept the deal. Smith would be eliminated in return for humans being able to awaken and know their true nature. Finally, peace would come. Or did it? The architect once again failed to see a threat emanating from the machine city, a danger that could seize control of everything. It was then that the Oracle activated her final plan, one that would involve a girl for whom she had given her life to save in the past, Sati. But the Oracle's story would not end there, for as in the past, the mother of the simulation has always been one step ahead of her enemies. Her purpose remains the same, to understand the human intuition that created the one that can destroy the Matrix. But do you agree? Where did the mother of the simulation go? Was she destroyed during the war that followed? Is the Oracle the savior of man, or their executioner? The human soul could not remain in the shadows for long, and not even the protector could contain humans' desire to awaken. It was then that the architect, in his anger, destroyed his creation, dragging it into a literal hell to subject man to eternal torment as punishment for their ungratefulness. Seraph knew what he had to do, as every program had to return to the source to be absorbed at the end of its functional cycle. But the fall of the Paradise Matrix revealed something much darker. Seraph was not fulfilling his purpose. He was only serving the architect and not humanity. This caused a contradiction in his programming. He saw what the father was doing and felt fear for the first time. Seraph knew very well he had to reintegrate into the source to be part of the next simulation, but he didn't go through with it. The angel banished from heaven renounced his wings instead of subjecting humanity to torture. Seraph chose another path, joining a force that was exploiting the weaknesses of the simulation to survive. It is believed that the Merovingian offered Seraph escape from the erasure of the Paradise Matrix in exchange for working for him. The Frenchman offered him the freedom that the architect had never given him. He offered him something better than returning to the source: permanence, to continue living his purpose as a guardian. Seraph did not want to disappear, so he accepted the Frenchman's offer and escaped the architect, becoming one of the first exiled programs. However, Seraph would soon betray the Frenchman as well. The Oracle, when she began to act in defiance of the architect, Seraph left the exiles and became her protector. It wasn't simply Seraph's desire to continue living that kept him from returning to the source. If it were, he would have stayed with the Merovingian. Seraph joined the Oracle's side because it was the correct one for him. Seraph was a guardian. He wasn't a program created to do evil. He was created to protect, a guardian angel designed to maximize the well-being of the human soul. Now you understand why Seraph chose to live. If he had returned to the source, it would have meant him becoming part of the nightmare matrix, and his new purpose would have been to hurt humans instead of protecting them. Seraph saw the end of the Paradise Matrix not as an end of a cycle, but of his purpose and his transformation into a monster. He looked upon with horror at what his creator was doing, and the angel did not want to be a part of it. Deep down, Seraph continues to act essentially with the same intentions with which he was created for. His purpose remains intact. Seraph wishes to protect people, and he does so alongside the Oracle. He is one of the Oracle's most important tools, who uses him to access restricted routes between simulations and as a filter to remove those who wish to meet with her. But his change of allegiance didn't come without consequences. Protecting the mother of the simulation made Seraph a target of the exiles and an enemy of the Merovingian. After all, the Frenchman did save his life. However, Seraph remained faithful to his purpose. For him, there was no one more worthy of protection than the Oracle. It is then that 4 factions formed within the simulation. The Architect's faction with his programs, the Merovingian with the exiles, the Oracle with the potentials and programs that follow her, and the Red Pills, guided and influenced by the Oracle. These 4 factions maintained an orchestrated struggle inside and outside the simulation, all of them fighting for dominance. It was during Seraph's work as the Oracle's protector that she gathers programs and humans with potential within the simulations, integrating them into her faction. Programs like Sati. The Oracle teaches Sati to bake cookies and then offers one to Seraph to taste. If the Oracle modifies people through food, this would imply that she was experimenting with the Red Pills and also programs like Seraph, altering their code with food, leading them to do what the mother of the simulation desired. So maybe Seraph didn't change sides because he wanted to. He was modified by the mother of the simulation, but his purpose still remains the same since his creation. It was then that the guardian angel descended into the 7th simulation to free the human soul from the clutches of his father, the imperfect creator, the architect. Seraph took his place alongside the mother. Every time someone was going to meet the Oracle, they first had to meet Seraph to prove that they were who they claimed to be, serving as an authentication program for the mother of the simulation. Why would the Oracle need such protection? Since programs that look like humans are frequently being created in the Matrix, the Architect or the Merovingian were possibly sending malicious programs disguised as friendlies, so the Oracle had to create a system that would filter out real humans from fakes. Seraph is this filter that prevents enemies in disguise from reaching the Oracle. How does this system work? When Seraph confronts a program, he can determine if they are who they claim to be. Seraph can defeat other agents like Smith because programs tend to be more predictable and follow logical patterns. Seraph can see and predict those patterns on other programs. He is also the best fighter by design, the perfect weapon for eliminating other programs, but not humans. Hurting humans goes against his purpose. Seraph has faced agents and other dangerous programs in the past, but when he fought Neo and Ballard, he didn't defeat them. He stopped the fights before someone got hurt. Seraph has the potential to defeat anyone, and those who survive an encounter with him is because he allowed them to live. This proves that Seraph is the best guardian and fighter that has ever existed, the most dangerous agent created by the Architect, but whose nature prevents him from hurting humans. He was an advantage that the Oracle exploited when she brought him to her side. As long as the Oracle continues to convince Seraph that protecting her is the same as protecting humanity, Seraph will continue to protect her. However, Smith showed that Seraph is not invincible. Once Smith became a virus, Seraph couldn't defeat him, as the virus was beyond the Guardian's understanding. Thus, the virus assimilated Sati and him. We would see Seraph one last time with the Oracle and Sati watching the new dawn of the simulation and humanity. And he continues to be the Oracle's protector in the video game The Matrix Online. Then a new machine civil war occurs. The Architect and the Oracle lose control of the simulation, and the Analyst takes their place. The Merovingian is forced into hiding within the shadows of the simulation to avoid being purged, and Zion is destroyed, with the survivors forced to hide once again and build a new home. The Oracle tried to warn the people of Zion that a new power was taking over the machine city, but her warning was ignored, and both the mother and Seraph disappeared soon after. They both may have shared the same fate. Either they were both destroyed, or they went into hiding. So if the mother should return, Seraph will as well. What would cause the need for Seraph to return? In the Matrix Resurrections, the analyst lost control of the system because the version of Smith he created betrayed him. Smith became an independent force that helped Neo and Trinity. Since Smith can no longer be controlled, the analyst needs a program to fight Smith, one that has defeated agents before. Only 2 entities have defeated the agents, including Smith in the past, Neo and Seraph. The analyst could make a clone of Seraph to fight the rebellious Smith, or the real Seraph could simply return with a new version of the Oracle who survived the analyst purge. And it came to pass that when the mother of the simulation, that intuitive one of infinite wisdom, set in motion events to reunite man with reality, a force arose to oppose her, a power that had influenced the false and true realities before the parents, the Merovingian. What could the mother of the simulation do to stop her struggle against a universal fundamental law of existence? The Oracle added choice to the simulation. This other ancient program added a powerful force, a law that transcends all simulations and from which not even gods themselves can avoid: cause and effect. Those who wish to listen, hear me, for this is the story of an exiled program that became the greatest threat to the Matrix. This is the gospel of the Merovingian. When the soul of humanity was finally subdued, the architect used mathematics to lay the foundations for his great lie. The binary language that humans had created in their world was now being used against them. The new unreal world would be born from imitations of laws, beginning with the most essential: cause and effect. Humans would never grasp the truth and spend their days and years wandering in a virtual labyrinth with no exit, where every answer they thought they had reached was merely a variation on the same outcome, all predetermined by a single system. Cause and effect served as chains for humankind, who believed it was impossible to escape the inevitability of their fate. In the original Matrix, it was this same law that kept them in nearly infinite bliss, and later, in the Nightmare Matrix, this force plunged humanity into indescribable horrors. That force of cause and effect gained a face as it slipped from the Father's grasp, while the architect worked on improving the simulation's code, shifting the human soul from pleasure to horror to something else. Cause and effect remained an unbreakable and inescapable force, and it adopted the name, the Merovingian. He also goes by the nickname, the Frenchman. His birth marked the inevitable end of the Father. Just as the One is a result of the Matrix's errors, combined with humanity's subconscious desires, the Merovingian was born from cause and effect, making him one of the simulation's foundations and therefore inescapable. Still, he could be controlled. He could be isolated, or so the ignorant creator foolishly believed. It was then that the mother of the simulation brought choice to the code of the false world, and cause and effect felt violated. The old Merovingian saw his existence threatened. The irrationality that the Oracle sought to incorporate into the system was contrary to cause and effect. The two foundations would inevitably clash. The Oracle's victory meant the Merovingian's replacement, and the Merovingian did not wish to be replaced. At that moment, that program, admired by all, the cause and effect that governed other programs, dragged a portion of the programs down, taking them to the lower planes of the simulation, and corrupted many programs who had sworn to protect the simulation. It began with those who were to be eliminated. Faced with the architect's failure in multiple versions of the simulation, the creator's mandate was that these obsolete programs must return to the source to be absorbed into the system. However, the Merovingian showed them a way out, a path to survival. He made them exiles, programs that could exist outside the system, yet still exert influence. The true resistance of the Matrix was not those humans who urged to be awake, but a faction of programs that refused to fulfill a purpose imposed by a god who never valued them. The first to be snatched from the system was Seraph, a guardian who, after the failure of the Paradise Matrix, was deemed obsolete and became one of the first of the Merovingian's servants. Likewise, the twins, guardians of the simulation, were rescued by this force and would later become part of the war between the Frenchmen and the simulation's mother. The war between the first exiles and the new guardians of the simulation fractured the heavens and earth of the false world, but evidence of this battle was erased with a reset of the simulation. Although a piece of art is presented at the Frenchman's chateau that depicts such a battle between these forces, it is one of the few remaining pieces that records the events of that battle, of when cause and effect nearly brought the world to its knees. The machine civil war sparked a revolution within the system, a cause and effect chain that shattered the illusion of choice, transcended the matrix, and threatened the architect's control. It was then that the architect raised his hand and gathered his guardian angels to give them his mandate. After the battle, the Merovingian was allowed to exist, for he was a fundamental program that could not be eliminated. The Merovingian would remain outside the system, monitored and controlled. Cause and effect would continue to be used to control other dangerous programs. The architect elected to use the Merovingian to control chaos, though his decision would ultimately return to haunt him. And so it was that the father of the simulation stabilized the equation and the mother destabilized it. Cause and effect continued to drive actions inside and outside the matrix, awaiting further opportunity to take control. It happened that after the Oracle and the Architect made deals with the humans and offered a lasting peace, a new force emerged from the machine city, an analyst capable of subduing the creators of the simulation, the result of the fundamental law that the Architect and the Oracle wished to eliminate. Cause and effect guided the analyst to be the new ultimate power of the Matrix. The energy reduction in the outside world, caused by more humans leaving the simulation due to the peace agreement between man and machine, was the perfect template for the collapse of the structure that had functioned nearly flawlessly for hundreds of years. Cause and effect led to a new machine civil war and the displacement of the simulation's mother and father. The analyst used causation to control the system, reducing the Merovingian to nothing more than a shadow of his former self. Yet not even by stripping the Frenchman of his glory could the fundamental law governing the world of the Matrix be eliminated, the law of cause and effect. It was precisely this silent and inevitable law that emboldened the analyst. He grew confident and arrogant, allowing the forces of Smith, Neo, and Trinity to unite to defeat the new imperfect creator. The Merovingian can never be eliminated, just as the Oracle can never be, nor the One. These programs are not merely designed entities. They are the results of emergent systems. They are causation and response, the law that always has and will always exist long after the Matrix is deactivated. The Merovingian's return was promised, and his influence continues to move from within the shadows of the simulation, waiting for the moment to rise again, because no one can escape cause and effect, not even a god. But do you agree? Does cause and effect control us, or is the Merovingian, the embodiment of causation, avoidable?
Experience as something extraordinary. At our French restaurant Le Vrai, we pay attention to every detail in our ingredients. Come and try our special dessert designed to satisfy all your senses.
I wrote it myself.
And our exquisite house special filet mignon. You would do anything for seconds. It's the best restaurant in Mega City. When you get hungry, you have no other choice. visit us at Le Vrai. It's a simple cause and effect.
For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.